All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. So Masvidal is calling for Conor McGregor. He said he's going to kill him, Doug. He said he's going to try to kill him in the ring. Now, or in the cage, whatever. So I want that fight, and I think the fight makes a lot of sense, and I'm going to use this video to make a very compelling case for why they should make this fight. The prime reason being that this is an absolute super fight, and you lose it potentially ever happening in, if certain things play out differently. You don't let them fight now, certain things play out, you never get this fight. And that would be a travesty. In terms of finances, I know how decisions get made in this world. Financially, travesty. Now, before we get into it, though, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. I'm serious, though. Subscribe to the channel, you guys. Just do it. If you watch all my videos and you haven't subscribed because you're just kind of like, I don't subscribe, just click subscribe. And then you're in the group that I love. I love all my subscribers, dog. So here's the deal, okay? So Masvidal is calling for Conor, and Conor has not responded yet. However, this falls directly into what Conor has already said that he does want, though. So let's think about that. What does Conor want? Conor wants to come back at 170. He wants to fight for a title, right? If he beats someone who is a contender at 170, he gets a title shot, okay? Putting him directly in against Kamaru is ludicrous, and I don't think the UFC is going to do that. However, if he goes in and he wins one fight, he's right there. Masvidal is a superstar. He's as big a star as you get next to Conor. However, let me say this, dude. Okay, I went to the Colby and Masvidal fight, and obviously I had a lot of stuff spinning around my head for that particular fight. But if you are actually there when they put on the Scarface song and he comes out, dude, yeah, for sure. I've seen a lot of fighter entrances. That's the best one by a mile, dude. When that song came on and he was coming out, dude, my heart was like, it was so sick. And so you got Masvidal, he does that entrance, and you got Conor come out. It's going to be unreal. And if Masvidal wins, it's Masvidal. Either way, you have one of your superstars coming off of a win. And if Conor loses, he can drop. If Masvidal loses, it's not great. He's still a superstar, though. He's still a superstar. And listen, if you wait, let's say you give Conor a title shot, or let's say you do whatever, or let's say you give Masvidal some different fight. What if they both lose? That's the big challenge for the UFC. I know this to be true. The big challenge for the UFC is, what if this guy loses? When they put O'Malley in front of someone, they are 100% giving him matchups they think that he'll win, or give him the best chance to win. And they always do the same thing with Conor and Masvidal, ideally, barring other circumstances or title shots. Okay, so generally they don't do this, right? But they did the BMF belt. But that, of course, is also because Nate Diaz was not really in title contention, so it could be a super fight. But this is no different than that. One of them has to take a loss, though, and that's why they wouldn't just on autopilot do it. But to try to imagine that fight, I'm trying to think of the last time when there was a fight with two stars that big, and I actually can't think of one, because Khabib was not as big of a star as Masvidal before the Conor fight, right? If they would have done the rematch, but if they do a Masvidal and Conor fight, it might be one of the biggest, if not the big, that might actually be the biggest UFC event ever. That might sell the most pay-per-views ever. Conor versus Masvidal, everybody knows both of them. Every single person knows both of them. And I've said this a million times, about how I know what fights are going to be big is about my friends that are casuals that text me, hey, do I need to buy this fight? Right? They text me, they're like, dude, do I need to get this one? And they come out Conor fights, they just buy. Masvidal fights, they ask, okay? Nate Diaz fights, they usually ask. So you put Masvidal and Conor together, okay? I think it does 2 million pay-per-views, which wouldn't technically be as much as the Khabib one. But I really do. I think that does 2 million buys. I think that would be such an absolutely massive event. And if Conor wins, dude, that's a great matchup for Conor too. That's a great matchup for Conor, right? And it's a good matchup for Masvidal too. Both of these guys have trouble with people who take them down. Neither of them are. It's going to be a straight up striking match between Masvidal and Conor at 170. Right? Come on, dude. Give me that fight. Give me that fight. Now, there's someone else barking for Masvidal, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video because I'm going to save it for tomorrow's video. But he's doing a good job, dude. He's doing a good job. He is barking for Masvidal. Here's one thing I wanted to say, though, that I've been meaning to say every time that I do a video about Masvidal. I keep forgetting. So I keep thinking about that video from after the Colby fight when he's in the locker room and he's so disappointed. And he's like, and he's saying, he's like, how could this have happened? You know, because it's one thing to lose to Kamaru twice, you know, like that's the thing. Again, I just said this in my video yesterday about Hamzat, about how like people forget who a person's fighting, you know, where it's like, oh man, look, this guy won 3 in a row by knockout. You're like, he's never going to lose. Or man, this guy's lost 3 in a row. He's washed. And it's like, no one talks about who it's against. It's like, okay, Masvidal lost to Kamaru Usman twice. Kamaru Usman is, I mean, it's Kamaru Usman. He's beat 21 straight guys or something like that. That doesn't, just because you're not quite as good as Kamaru Usman doesn't mean you're not an elite fighter. And then he lost to Colby, who is as close to Kamaru Usman as it gets. So like, the idea that Masvidal's washed because he lost to those guys is ridiculous. He almost knocked Colby out, dude. He came real close to knocking Colby out. Maybe if they weren't best friends, he would have gone for the kill. Oh, just kidding, you guys. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. But Masvidal, see, dude, it's not like he looked slow. They just looked like a terrible matchup. And especially against someone who has trained so many hours with him that he knows how to enter. You know, like he knows how to get in there and grab a hold of him. Because you have habits, man. Even if they haven't trained together in a couple of years, like there are certain things that are just part of how people move, you know? Like Masvidal's like body kick, which is awesome, which is great, is very identifiable. Like it's like if you had a blank dummy, you know, and that just or what do you call it? Like if it was like a simulated thing, but it was like you had all the sensors on him, and I watched, I would know his kick right then. Like it would be like, whose body kick is this? I'd be like, that's Masvidal's. You know, and who's this is this? Like, you can identify it. And Masvidal moves in a very specific way, and he's a real tricky striker too. You know what? Let me talk about the fight too. So when it comes to Conor and Masvidal, let me just actually think. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Let me finish my thought. Jesus, ADD on the next level. But so I was thinking about that video of him in the locker room after the fight where he's just like, how could this have happened? He's so disappointed. And I completely understand why he obviously felt that way. But if I were him, dude, like, I'm sorry, if I was his friend and I was like sitting in his house with him, I don't know, call it 48 hours later, and he was, you know, he calmed down. When a person is mourning like that, you know, like you don't need to cheer them up, dude. Like you're not going to cheer them up. You just let them know that you're there for them. You're their boy, whatever. But once he calmed down a little bit and was like feeling a little better, slept on it twice, what I would say to him is I would be like, listen, man, I want you to think about something. Think about yourself. Think about where you were at in the jungle, right? Like you went to the jungle, you had an epiphany about your life, and you changed everything, right? Think about where you were at when you went to the jungle. It wasn't that long ago, dude. And you changed everything. Where are you at now? Okay? Like you lost 3? Sure. What's your bank account look like? What does it look like when you walk downtown now? Right? Like you've won. You accomplished everything that you set out to do. Now, I know you didn't win the championship, but you got a belt. You visualized yourself having a belt. You got one. Like you literally have accomplished every single thing that you set out to do. The disappointment is understandable, but to think of yourself in the way that you were thinking of yourself after that fight is absurd. You've won in any possible way of measuring. And I just think that, you know, I'm sure that obviously now he's fine, you know, but like, that's what I would have said to him. And I would have meant it, obviously. But so as it relates to the fight, dude, you've got I would say Conor is a much more creative, like maybe not creative is the right word. Like he has a lot more kind of different movements that come from, you know, like or a lot of different techniques, right? What makes Masvidal so tricky is he has a very simple he's got very simple stand-up. And because of that, he makes minor adjustments and they look the same at first and it's not the same, you know? Like that's the way he does it. Like Conor, you know, he'll throw like a spinning back kick, you know, then he'll throw something forward, front kick, here. Then he's got this. He's throwing a million different things at you, which is incredibly hard to deal with. Where Masvidal has a very different approach, where he's throwing the same basic stuff at you, except it's not the same, right? He gets you used to him throwing from this angle, except in this one, he comes up high. Like that's how he knocked out Darren Till, is with that tricky ass step in with that left hook. He almost got him with the first one. He got him with the second one. And like people see those and they don't realize, like, you don't realize like what went into him catching him with that, It's like a pitcher, That's actually exactly how I always thought about it, It's like you're a pitcher and you have the same movement when you throw a fastball. A really good changeup, you have the exact same movement except the ball comes 15 miles per hour slower. And so the people are way out in front of it. It's exactly the same. It's like if I can look identical when I start this movement from here, but I've got 3 different ways that I can finish, like, whoop, they're reacting, but they don't know. It's either boom, boom, boom. It's like you want to look the same every time. Or with like kicks, right? You start, front kick, you boom, put it here. You could do a front kick to the body, or you could take it right up to their chin, or you can make it look exactly like you're coming here, and then you just transition to a roundhouse to their head. But they're reacting to what you condition them to react to, and you're setting them up for what you're going to hit them with later. And this is obviously going to sound like fucking common sense to anyone who actually has any experience striking, but nonetheless, the point I'm illustrating is that Masvidal is exceptional at that because he has the same basic movements for the start of his strikes, and then he mixes it up, which makes it incredibly hard to deal with him. That's why he's such a vicious striker. I mean, among his, footwork, he's quick, he's awesome. But it's just very different than how Conor approaches it. Now, that said, Conor has been training all kinds of stuff for years. I don't feel like I have any idea what Conor's coming with, actually, to be honest with you. Because very clearly when he came to the dust, because it came like matter of fact, think about this, dude. Let me actually put this in context. He fights Eddie Alvarez, and he's still doing the keep them at distance, his back and forth controlling distance. The way that if you fight him straight forward, he's gonna fucking demolish you. At least the way he used to fight, where people hadn't figured out yet that if you're playing tag like this, where you're going straight back and straight forward, if you're fighting him in a bowling lane, right, back forward, he is going to fucking annihilate you. He controls distance incredibly well. You have to circle. You have to have circular motion against Conor because he's too good this way. But so against Eddie Alvarez, he just beat the shit out of him with that back and forth, back and forth. Same thing he got Aldo with. Same thing he got, But then Khabib used a lot of circling. That's how Khabib was able to stay out of dangerous striking exchanges with him before he would take him down. And then he took him down. I mean, I don't think that anyone feels like they got a really strong look at Conor striking from the Khabib fight. Do you? Because I don't. And then also, after that, he comes back, he fights Cowboy, and he beat him in less than a minute, so you don't get a lot there. Then he comes back against Dustin, and obviously in between Khabib and what am I talking about? He fought Floyd before the Khabib fight, right? Yeah. Okay. So he goes and fights Floyd, then has Khabib. I was confused for a second. So you got this boxing match in there. Then when he fights Poirier, he very clearly had focused like exclusively on his boxing, right? He's going to go in there, he's going to box Poirier up, and he gets beat with calf kicks. Then he comes back against Poirier and he's throwing a ton of kicks in the beginning, and then he gets taken down, and then he stands up and breaks his ankle. So like you really think it's like when you visualize what striking game Conor's going to come with, how would you possibly know? You know he's got vicious kicks. You know he has great hand striking. You know he's incredibly creative. You know that if he wants to just, try to do it this way and Masvidal's willing to go back and forth with him, he obviously has that game locked down. But the way he throws punches even looks different. Because he used to have that really long karate style, like, ball on the end of a chain, whap. And then when he fought Dustin, he had a much more kind of traditional kind of boxer look to him. And then he was throwing all kicks. It's actually an impossible fight to handicap now because Conor's going to be, it's impossible to predict what kind of game he's going to have. Impossible, in my opinion. You can watch all of his training footage, but he's like hitting pads and shit. He has all kinds of different skill sets, and that's mixed martial arts. You have no idea how he's going to work them all together. you know, it's fast. God, I want that fight now. I want that fight so fucking bad. I just tucked myself into it. Like, now I really want that fucking fight. Now, also, Lake Travis Jiu-Jitsu, Six Blades Lake Travis is opening next week. That is Victor Hugo's school, Steve Hargett's school. Victor Hugo, #1 IBJJF in the world champion, multi-time world champion. Steve Hargett, #1 pound for pound in the world, Masters 2. It's their school, the two of them. They're going to be teaching class there every day, which is why I am going to be driving a significant amount for Giselle and I to go there, and we will be there all the time. Obviously, I live in the Austin area. I don't know if I made that clear. This is all in Austin area, Lake Travis and Austin area. And you also get to beat me up, you know? Maybe, probably, maybe. But anyway, come check it out. So and the website is jujitsuLakeTravis.com. Six Blades Lake Travis. Anyway, that's what I got. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Peace.